Hi everyone, I'm Stuart Sample, and what a beautiful sunshiny day at last. I'm in the garden finally, and I'm back and I'm ready to do a new art school for you, so I hope you're all absolutely amazing. Sorry I haven't been on here for a while. I've literally been all over the place and I've been dying to get back in touch and see what we can do. I've had a look through the email inbox and some of your Snapchats, and there's just one question that so obviously needs to be answered. I'm just inundated with the same question, and it's quite simply, how do I get my work into a gallery? How do I get them to sell my work? And how do I get my art out there? So that's what we're going to do today. How to get your art into a gallery, how to sell your art, how to get it out there. So the first thing I have to tell you, and it's probably not something that you're really keen on hearing, I'm not going to be able to come on here and give you 2 or 3 really quick tips that are going to enable you to sort of start selling your art and making money out of what you do and getting a gallery into what you're doing. I don't know you, I don't know your work, I don't know your history, I don't know where you live, I know nothing about you, so it's going to be near on impossible for me to give you that kind of advice. And anyone who says they can, quite honestly, is just making it up. Anyway, there are 2 or 3 things that I can tell you that I think could potentially be quite useful. The first one is, and this is kind of like the hardest thing to take, really, in stomach, is the fact that there really is no conspiracy, there's no scam, there's no way to kind of trick your way into a gallery. There's no sort of weird favoritism going on in the industry. There's nothing like that. What it comes down to, honestly, is talent. It comes down to you having really good work. Now, I know lots of gallerists, lots of dealers, they're friends of mine, and they've all got something in common. Number one, they really know about art, and they love art. And number 2, they really don't need to be selling crummy art to anybody. They respect their collectors too much, they respect their galleries too much, and quite frankly, they've got access to some of the best art in the world. So many people are making so much great art that nobody needs to sell bad art. You know, you go around any end of year show at any university, as most galleries and dealers do, and you'll see there are always some incredibly talented standout artists. So the bad news is it's really competitive. The good news is that although you can't control people's opinions about what you make, whether people buy it, whether people deal it, or whether people sell it, what you can absolutely control is what you make. What you make and what you put out into the world is your business. And that's important because while somebody's job might be to sell it or promote it or market it or take it to art fairs or build exhibitions around it, your job, 99% of your job, is making the stuff and being seriously committed to that. And that's what a gallery really wants to see, that level of commitment to what you're doing. At the end of the day, a gallery is a commercial proposition. I mean, these guys are in business. Just like you are, really. I mean, you need to keep the lights on, don't you? You have to keep a roof over your head. You might want to pay for your kids to go to school. You've got to get to wherever you're going and get back. You need some clothes to wear. So, you know, don't think a gallery's any different. I mean, they've got overheads to meet as well. The bigger the gallery, the more cost they're going to face. So you are a gamble for them. From day one, you're a gamble for them. So why are they going to take a chance on you rather than somebody else? I mean, that's what you've got to be asking yourself. You've got to have some kind of value. And by that, I mean, not necessarily that your work is selling for an awful lot of money, but you have some intrinsic value in what you are making. You know, that could be cultural value, that could be media value, that could be financial value, but you have to have something about what you're doing. I mean, ideally, ultimately, and what I believe is your work should have some value to humanity. You know, there needs to be some point in you spending your time making your stuff that's actually adding something to other people's experience of being alive, that you're in your studio making this stuff because you feel that you've got something to contribute. Now, if you've got that going on, you have a lot of value. And that is going to be extremely attractive to a gallery. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to suddenly start making a lot of money for you in the gallery. And at the end of the day, they've got to keep the lights on. So you have to differentiate yourself from the competition. So with all that said, what do you do? Well, let's just say you're making your work. You think you found something that's quite interesting, and maybe your girlfriend, boyfriend, mum thinks there's something in it. At this kind of stage, you need to start getting it out there. And you've got one tool that I didn't have growing up, and that's this social media thing. It's absolutely unbelievable. So you need to be building a following on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, those sorts of things, Facebook group, whatever, as early as possible. That's really important, because that's where you're going to get that feedback, that direct connection to people with your work, and that's going to be so valuable in the future. You know, opportunities will start to come in from those places if what you're doing is interesting. And don't forget, it's completely free. The next thing is, I mean, my first show was in a local cafe, where I lived. I put the work on the wall, invited all my friends, and it was an experience. It was my first exhibition. People came, I went through the nerves, I showed the work, I got the work ready. That was really, really useful. I started to meet people, learn about my work. I mean, the paintings were rubbish looking back now, but you know, you learn, you grow, you have to start somewhere. Getting started is the thing. The other thing that's really good actually is just go to lots of private views, go to lots of galleries. You know, what do those galleries show? What are they into? And make friends with artists who are into the same sort of art as you, and you'll be surprised. They'll say, oh, I'm in this group show, thought your stuff would fit, do you want to? And these sorts of things will come very organically from the relationships that you start to build. But when you go to these private views, whatever you do, don't be that annoying person that starts hustling pictures of their work on everybody and talking about themselves all the time. It just turns everybody off. Like, you don't need to do that. Genuinely go there, talk about the work that you see, engage with people, and before you know it, even if you're a shy person, people will start to recognize you. People give you a little nod, you know, and things will grow and things will expand, and you need to start getting the work out there. Now, there may well be a point a bit further down the line where you know, some sort of more formal gallery representation makes sense. You know, but at that point you'd have had some reviews of your work. You might even have had one or two, maybe, solo shows at smaller galleries. You may have sold something, you may not. And at that point, those sort of discussions will start to happen when things start appearing at auction, or like at this kind of moment, like not early on. And if you think about it, if you were in a rock band or you were a singer, you wouldn't like write to Wembley Arena and go, hey, I sing kind of well in my bedroom, can I have a gig? They'd be like, well, who's going to come? And to be honest with you, it's blatantly obvious to everyone that you're going to fluff it and it's going to be really naff. So whatever you do, don't save yourself the disappointment of that. The other thing is you have to prove yourself in this day and age okay, so you've got access to the internet, you've got access to putting your work out there, but in this day and age, it's so competitive, it's so noisy, you have to differentiate yourself and you have to prove yourself. You have to have some sort of track record. And that only comes through time. That comes through practicing your craft, getting your work out there, building up a name for yourself, getting known in what you do. And there comes to be a point where people know that if they call you, if they call upon you, if they work with you, you're going to deliver, you're going to be reliable, and you've got something behind you that makes sense. And work your way up gradually and slowly, like I did. By the time I had my first show, I'd sold quite a lot of art on the internet. I mean, my first gallery show, I'd sold quite a lot of art on the internet. I'd shown in a few cafes. I definitely had a bit of a fan base. I had something behind me. I was not unknown. People have sort of heard about it, seen it around. And it was very natural and organic. You know, every gallerist I know, every dealer I know loves art. Like, honestly, yes, they're there to make money, but they really love art. And the ones that have helped me and supported me over the years have worked with me. You know, it's more the person. You know, it's as much the person as the work. So you need to be friendly, you need to be approachable, you need to, don't get off on the wrong foot by being weird. You know, be normal, be human, relate to people. You know, they're going to work with you and your work, and that package kind of comes together, and it has to make sense. I guess what I'm saying is, you know, it's the long game, because you might even get into a decent gallery and they may do a show and you might not sell anything. you know, or they might take your work to 2 or 3 fairs and it just doesn't really stick with the market. You know, what you're making just kind of isn't right. It might be great work, but maybe it just doesn't sell. Maybe it's the wrong moment. Maybe it's not what people are into. So you need to prepare yourself for that, because you're saying, how do I get my work into a gallery? How do I get my work out there? You know, but what's the reason? Is it because you think if a gallery puts your work on the wall, you're going to immediately be rich and famous? Because I'm here to tell you that is not going to happen. That is just an absolute pipe dream. You may actually show the work and then realise you need to get back in the studio for 2 or 3 years, and the grind continues. It's the reality of the situation. What it comes down to is that old phrase, you know, you can't polish a turd. And that's the fact of life. All a gallery is going to be is the icing on a cake. You know, if you've got something, that beautiful white-walled, concrete floored space with the lovely vinyl on the window in Chelsea in New York or whatever it is only going to add to what's already there. But if that cake is rotten inside, half cooked, the egg's a bit mouldy, it doesn't matter what icing the gallery put on top of it, it's just not going to work. So you need to make sure you have an awesome thing that you really believe in. And do you know what? If the gallery thing doesn't happen, and if you don't sell millions of pounds worth of art, at least at the end of the day, you know, there'll be some real reason for what you're making in your studio, something that you're contributing to, something that you're genuinely exploring. And the satisfaction that comes from doing that is going to be really, really good. So it's how committed are you to your work, how much you demonstrate that. And the more you give in terms of your commitment and the quality of what you're making, the more likely you are to attract really interesting people around you. I mean, just to put it in perspective, probably not a week goes by now where a gallery doesn't write in, wants to do a show, wants to represent what I do in some capacity. And honestly, I just don't have time. I mean, I'm much more interested in having fun with my family and making my work. So strangely, like, the irony of the thing is, by the time it comes, you might actually not be that into it. But anyway, look, keep making the stuff, keep getting it out there, keep engaging people. And yeah, we're going to do a crit show next. So send in your work, artschool@stuartsemple.com, and then we can all have a chat about what you're actually making, because that's what this needs to be about the work. So let's have a chat about that next time. If you've got any other questions, connect with me on Twitter, @StuartSemple, Snapchat, Stuart_Semple, or hit me up on the Facebook. I'll put all the links below. I'll do my best to write back to you all. And yeah, have an amazing week. If it's as sunny as this where you are, have an amazing time. I'll see you all soon. All right, bye.